In the frozen Barents Sea, a missile screams into the sky. Russia's Zircon, a weapon built to outrun NATO's defences. In Belarus, tanks roll, jets roar and borders tighten. And in Europe's financial capitals, a different battle brews, over billions in frozen Russian wealth. This is Zapad 2025, war games, warnings and a world on edge. Russia has fired one of its most advanced weapons in a move certain to unsettle Western capitals. On September 12th, Moscow and Minsk began their latest joint drills, codenamed Zapad or West. Officially, they are billed as defensive exercises. But the timing, the tone, and above all, the hardware on display suggest a far deeper message. From the Admiral Golovko frigate, stationed in the icy waters of the Barents Sea, Russia launched its Zircon hypersonic cruise missile. The Defense Ministry released footage showing the missile blasting vertically from the ship before tilting sharply and streaking across the horizon at blistering speed. The launch was only part of the show. Long-range anti-submarine aircraft took off from Russia's northern fleet, while Sukhoi Su-34 fighter bombers carried out simulated bombing raids on ground targets. It was, in effect, a demonstration of air-sea integration rehearsed in combat conditions. Russia also deployed Iskander M missile systems in the Kaliningrad region as part of the Zapad 2025 exercises, placing much of Poland and the Baltic states within potential range. The 9M723 missile has a range of roughly 500 kilometers, though some Russian-tested variants reportedly stretch to 1,000. According to the open-source intelligence group Cyber that puts 6 NATO states, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Sweden and Germany within striking distance. Russian media placed the range at between 400 and 1,000 kilometers, with a warhead mass of up to 400 kilograms. For Moscow, this was about more than testing hardware. The Zapad exercises have always carried a political weight. The last large-scale iteration, in 2021, involved around 200,000 troops. By comparison, Zapad 2025 is a fraction of that size, with only a few thousand Russian troops alongside Belarusian forces. The reason is clear. Russia is stretched thin in Ukraine. Yet history has made NATO wary. In 2021, Zapad gave Moscow the cover to quietly move units westwards, the very same units later used in the invasion of Ukraine. That memory lingers, which is why even a scaled-down Zapad has the full attention of Western capitals. If Russia is signaling strength, Belarus is balancing on a knife edge. President Alexander Lukashenko has long been skilled at playing both sides, leveraging Moscow for security while courting the West for economic relief. In recent weeks, he has made gestures towards Washington. After releasing more than 50 prisoners, including a British Belarusian woman, he secured limited US sanctions relief. Still, Lukashenko cannot step too far from Moscow's orbit. Zapad 2025 is as much a stage for him as it is for Putin. He has insisted that the drills are defensive and held deep inside Belarus, far from NATO borders. But for neighbours like Poland and Romania, the assurances ring hollow. On September 9th and 10th, Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace. And just this Sunday, another drone breached Romanian skies, tracked by its air force for nearly an hour before leaving. Each incident adds to the sense of creeping escalation. Poland has since shut a key border crossing with Belarus, citing security risks. The closure hits Lukashenko hard. That route is vital for the flow of Chinese goods through Belarus into Europe. For a leader reliant on trade, it is both an economic blow and a political warning. The drills themselves played out with theatrical precision. Fighter jets roared overhead. Tanks fired shells into mock villages. Drones struck wooden targets. and soldiers stormed in to raise Russian and Belarusian flags over a so-called liberated settlement. The scenario was simple: repel a simulated Western invasion, in effect, NATO. To Moscow and Minsk, this was a defensive rehearsal. To the West, it looked like practice for something else entirely. NATO has responded with its own manoeuvres, launching Eastern Sentry to test readiness. Polish troops are massed at the border. Western jets are on patrol. Each side insists it is acting defensively. Each side sees the other as preparing for war. While Russia flexes its military power, its economic front tells a different story. On September 15th, Moscow issued a sharp warning. Any move to seize its frozen assets in Europe will trigger retaliation. Since the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Western governments have locked away up to 350 billion of Russian sovereign wealth, much of it held as government bonds in European depositories. Now, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is pushing to use those frozen funds to support Ukraine's defence. According to Politico, one proposal would see the EU issue a reparations loan, backed by maturing Russian bonds held at the European Central Bank. That sparked an angry outburst from Dmitry Medvedev, the former president and now deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council.
If this happens, Russia will pursue the EU member states, as well as the Euro-degenerates in Brussels and individual countries that attempt to seize our property until the end of time. By all possible means, with no statute of limitations on claims against them, nor on holding them criminally responsible for international crimes. In every possible international and national court.
Medvedev vowed to challenge the seizures in all possible courts: international, national, and even outside the legal system. Earlier this month, he threatened to take more Ukrainian territory and target British assets abroad after London redirected 1.3 billion from frozen Russian funds to arm Kyiv. For Brussels, the logic is straightforward. Russia is responsible for the devastation in Ukraine, the deadliest conflict on European soil since 1945, and should pay. But bankers warn that forcibly seizing sovereign wealth could spook other countries, eroding confidence in Western financial systems. Russia, meanwhile, points to Western assets inside its own economy, about 285 billion, according to state media, as potential hostages in this financial standoff. Beyond the legal battles, sanctions are reshaping Russia's economy in unexpected ways. With banks cut off from SWIFT and wary of secondary sanctions, Moscow has revived barter trade. Goods exchanged directly with no money changing hands. Wheat traded for Chinese cars. Flax seeds swapped for building materials. Reuters has identified at least 8 barter deals in recent months, ranging from oilfield technology to marine engines. The full scale is unknown, but experts say the trend is growing. For the Kremlin, it is a paradox. On the battlefield, Russia projects confidence with hypersonic missiles and large-scale drills. At home, it turns to barter deals reminiscent of the 1990s. The image is of a power both defiant and constrained, fighting on two fronts, military and economic, each shaping the other.